February 2nd, 1943, Stalingrad, Soviet Union. After 5 months of intense combat and severe losses, the German Sixth Army, depleted of ammunition and supplies, finally surrenders. This marks the first of Hitler's field armies to capitulate during World War II. The battle signifies a critical psychological turning point, halting a series of German victories from the summer of 1942 and initiating a long westward retreat. The Red Army continues its advance, and by June 1944, during Operation Bagration, it launches a significant offensive against German forces, achieving substantial gains in occupied territories. A few months later, as Soviet troops enter German territory for the first time, they seek revenge for the atrocities inflicted upon Russia. This results in widespread looting, destruction, civilian deaths, and mass rapes, with one of the most horrific instances being the Nemmersdorf Massacre. After becoming Chancellor of Germany on January 30th, 1933, Adolf Hitler swiftly began preparing the nation for war. He rebuilt and expanded the German military, defying the Treaty of Versailles by reintroducing conscription and enlarging the army by 1935. He also established the Luftwaffe and expanded the Navy. Hitler formed strategic alliances, including the Rome-Berlin Axis with Italy in 1936 and the Anti-Comintern Pact with Japan, signaling Germany's aggressive intentions. In 1936, he remilitarized the Rhineland, and by 1938, he annexed Austria and occupied Czechoslovakia, further pursuing his expansionist goals. The Second World War began on September 1st, 1939, with Germany's invasion of Poland. Early German successes included the fall of Poland, the invasion of France, and the Dunkirk evacuation in 1940. Hitler then focused on the Soviet Union, launching Operation Barbarossa on June 19th, June 22nd, 1941. This invasion, involving 3 million German soldiers and support from Finnish, Romanian, Hungarian, Italian, Slovak, and Croatian troops, quickly conquered the Baltic states. The war against the Soviet Union was marked by extreme brutality, with mass executions, starvation, forced labor, and widespread atrocities committed by Nazi forces. On October 21st, 1944, the Soviet 25th Tank Brigade advanced into East Prussia, reaching the village of Nemmersdorf. The village, strategically important due to its bridge, saw intense fighting. Soviet forces crossed the bridge and established a foothold, but German counterattacks failed to recapture it. During an air raid, Soviet soldiers encountered 14 local civilians seeking refuge and executed them at close range. When the Germans retook Nemmersdorf, they discovered evidence of widespread atrocities. Nazi authorities investigated the massacre, finding evidence of rape and murder. The Nazi propaganda machine used the event to depict the Red Army as inhumane and to rally German resistance. Major General Erich Dethlefsen reported that Soviet troops tortured civilians and executed prisoners. Nazi propaganda exaggerated the events to instill fear and bolster German resolve. The massacre also triggered a mass exodus of civilians fleeing the advancing Red Army. By 1950, millions of Germans had been displaced, with up to 2 million German women suffering sexual violence. In Berlin, many women facing extreme violence chose to commit suicide. With the fall of communism, new information about the Nemmersdorf massacre emerged, confirming some war crimes by Soviet soldiers, but revealing that Nazi propaganda had greatly exaggerated the scale of the atrocities. The massacre illustrates the devastating impact of Hitler's ambitions, leading to widespread suffering and destruction. Hitler's quest for Lebensraum resulted in horrors that mirrored the brutality inflicted across Europe, with millions facing the aftermath of his disastrous decisions for decades.